Big game on Saturday. Ohio State, the number 4 team in the country, plays Penn State, the number 3 team in the country, where an unstoppable force and an unmovable object meet each other. Ryan Day is 2-6 against top 5 opponents. James Franklin is 1-12 against top 5 opponents. Somebody has to add a number to their win column, and somebody else is just, if you get on Twitter, going to be the people are making fun of because they still can't win big games. Ohio State, a 3.5-point favorite on Saturday, even though it's on the road, which is interesting. I think they were a 3-point favorite going into their last top 5 matchup against Oregon, also on the road, which it says what people think Ohio State should be, even if they're not beating up to that case. I'm Stephen Means, that's Andrew Gillis, and that's Stefan Krajisnik. Stefan, what's your game score for the Buckeyes game against the Nittany Lions?
Yeah, and these the meetings of these immovable objects and unstoppable forces and whatever you want to call it, there is one force that is more unstoppable than any, and that is James Franklin against Ohio State. I have gone back and forth all week, and Stephen and Andrew have heard me talk about it all week of I have no idea who's going to win this game. So I said, okay, what's a reasonable score? I went 27-24. Who's going to get 27? Not James Franklin. I don't know. I genuinely have no idea who is going to win this game, and I'm simply leaning on history of that Ohio State just beats Penn State, and there's probably Penn State fans who will clip this and try to roast us. They also know that James Franklin doesn't beat Ohio State. They know in their core that if this is a win for Penn State, it'll be something that they don't do very often. So 27-24, I got Ohio State winning, not covering the spread. The hook will be in the way there, but I believe that adds up for the over. I think the over-under was 44-ish, something like that. So I got the over.
So we got an over, and we got a non-cover here. Yeah, no, it's 45 now. That's the over-under. It's gotten up to 45, but that's still not. That's still under.
51 is the math, I think.
Yeah.
27-24.
Again, not great at math here. It's not what I write and talk for a living. I don't do math for a living, so it's fine. It's perfectly fine. You went with 27-24, not James Franklin. I almost did the exact same thing. I went 31-20, and I almost went 31-17 simply because, as we were talking this through on the pod, like, what if Ohio State takes away the only 2 ways that Penn State can generate offense? And also this defense just has a better day. I'm saying 31-20, but I'm also open to the idea that Ohio State only allows 7 points just because it's been 2 weeks where its defense was like, and now it's like, no. Let's like kind of reset some things here and remind everybody why you thought we were going to be so good in the first place. But I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to put it on record because I was too chicken to do it. So I went 31-20. That is an over for me. And it's also Ohio State covering. And the way it happens, I think this game is going to be like 2022, where it's just kind of weird. You look at the end of the game, it's like, how did this end up being the score when the score was this going into the fourth quarter? I just think Ohio State's, I don't know if they're consistently going to be able to move the ball in this game simply because of what its offensive line is, but I do believe in this idea that Ohio State can always just avalanche you at any time. They have so many weapons that they're always a Jeremiah Smith 70-yard touchdown, and a Emeka Egbuka 50-yard touchdown, a Carnell Tate 50-yard touchdown, a Travion Henderson hits a seam, and now he's gone for 60 yards away from you blink, and they just scored 21 points. And it makes zero sense. The overarching part of the game wasn't great, but because Ohio State has these guys and these positions, randomly, Notre Dame game, right, Andrew? That's what happened. Randomly, Travion Henderson, 61-yard one. It's like, okay, well, that's that. That's what happened the last time they played at Penn State. It's just like randomly Travion Henderson runs for a 40-yard touchdown. JT Tuimoloau turns into a demigod of football, apparently. Just those moments, I think, yes, James Franklin, that's funny, but also I think Ohio State has more guys who can just like randomly have a play that drastically impacts this game. And I think it comes down to that 31-20. That's an over for me. I've been under a lot, but I'm going over this week, and that's Ohio State covering. Andrew, what's your game score?
Yeah, I'm with Stefan. Or at least I'm with Stefan in terms of, this week has been very, give and take for me. I've been like, I think, you could go this way, it could go that way. Steven, I've picked 20 games for Ohio State, 13 last year, 7 this year. I've never picked them to lose. Penn State 27, Ohio State 23. I think Penn State's going to get them this time. I have just seen enough from Ohio State in the last couple of weeks and in big time moments. And I understand the Penn State thing applies too, but this team has not played well in the fourth quarter. And I think that this is going to be a fourth quarter game. I think Ryan Day got asked that specifically and might have even said that specifically about this being a fourth quarter game. They haven't played well in the fourth quarter. It feels like they've lost a lot of games in the fourth quarter. The Oregon game this year, I don't think they necessarily played all that great against Nebraska in the third quarter, especially, but even into the fourth quarter. The Michigan game last year, even the Notre Dame game last year, which they won, they didn't play well in the fourth quarter. It feels like Ohio State has not played well in these big time games down the stretch. You got to prove it to me. Now, congratulations to Ohio State fans. I picked Ohio State to win by 2 touchdowns at Oregon, so some people might be happy that I'm picking Penn State to win, but I think the Nittany Lions are just set up right now to get them, and Ohio State has been reeling a little bit. We have questions about the offensive line. We have questions about what in the world's going on with this defense and how things are, approached on the defensive side of the ball. So I understand all the questions that we have about Penn State. I understand all the questions that we have about James Franklin, but things have not been trending well for Ohio State. And we have talked about that ad nauseum on our podcast this week and even in the bye week and a little bit after Oregon. I'm just not going to ignore that anymore. I think Ohio State's going to lose. I think they're going to pick up their second loss. Couple games into the season, 8 games into the season with a couple games left. And I think we're going to be in really precarious territory with the Buckeyes for the rest of the way. I think Penn State's going to beat them.
Yeah, if Andrew's right, we're having a very different conversation after this game is over with. But also, I'm actually not that shocked that Andrew picked Penn State. For a lot of different reasons.
Listen, it was 20. It was 20 for Ohio State. I had never picked against them. This is the first time.
Yeah, but also
I think they've been favorites every time. But go ahead.
Yeah, but also 17 of those games, it's like they're not playing anybody where you genuinely think they're going to lose. So
the specific score you said there with Ohio State scoring 23 points, if Ohio State goes into this and is kicking as many field goals as 23 points would suggest, unless you think they're going to miss a PAT or something, that is not a winning approach. And I agree. If they score specifically 23 points, they will not win kicking field goals on the road.
He did pick a lot of field goals in this game. No, seriously, some of the reasons why I'm not shocked you picked Penn State are actually valid, but some of them are just because he's been a James Franklin apologist since the day I met him. And so that's just how this kind of goes. It's like, hey, guys.
He's a good coach, not an elite one.
Coach guy. He just doesn't beat good football teams. It's okay. But it's fine. It's fine. 2 Ohio States, 1 Penn State pick. It's going to be interesting, right? Because either Stefan and I are going to be 7-1 after this game, or we're going to be 6-2, and Andrew's going to be 7-1, or he's going to be 6-2, and it's going to look so funny if he's the one that's 6-2. It's going to look so funny if he's the one that's 6. I love messing with Andrew. It's fun. If you want to hear me mess with Andrew even more, you should check out our other YouTube videos. And if you want to hear the other 90 minutes of this conversation that we did, plus we had a conversation with Penline's Johnny McGonigal, talking about Penn State and things from their perspective of things, go get Buckeye Talk. Go listen to that wherever you find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. Top 5 matchup for Ryan Day. He's 2-6, hoping to get to 3-6 on Saturday when the Buckeyes take on the Nittany Lions, Ohio State at Penn State on Saturday at noon. For Stefan Krajisnik and for Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means, and that was Buckeye Talk.